So today I'm going to be chatting with one of the world experts in spiritual orgasm, in Kundalini, in not only physical sex, but spiritual sex, astral sex, the energy body. And his name is Michael Wynn from Healing Tao USA. I had the great joy of meeting him a decade ago at a big conference of Taoist Masters and practicing many of the teachings from his lineage. So we're going to be chatting today all about Kundalini and the quest for spiritual orgasm. So, Michael, welcome and thank you for taking this time.
So pleased to be with you again. I miss you after 10 years of when we first met. We had this instant connection, which I felt in my heart right away. And I'm sure that was a very true connection. And we're just crossing paths here again as part of that.
Yeah, it was very special for me. And I know that then, 10 years ago, I learned so much from you in so many ways. And I was especially touched by not only your knowledge about the energy body, but your embodiment of it, your lived experience of it. And yeah, it's really great to have the opportunity to share some of your wisdom with people here today.
My pleasure, my deep, deep embodied pleasure.
So just recently we were part of putting together this Kundalini Symposium, a topic that we're both really passionate about, and sharing our classes there. And you were sharing about your own Kundalini experience. How was it? So maybe you just want to say something about that whole event that we put together.
Well, I think it was brilliant. I mean, I can't recommend it highly enough. It had a lot of high level tantric and Taoist, teachers. So you get a cross cultural, fertilization of views. They both share, I think, the same principles, but they have different methods. Mm-hmm. And so it's wonderful. And there were people who had deep insights into the physiology of it. And, it was just, I can't praise it highly enough. I think it was a big, big spiritual event. I think that a lot of people would really benefit from.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we at Tantra were so thrilled with it. We really felt like everybody, all the teachers who showed up, just shared so much amazing wisdom.
Yeah. Well, I my session there was really about my major first awakening. That big push that happened there, that just speeded up my path so much. Mm-hmm. And that was just based on a tantric breathing technique. So I started with Tantra. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I got into Kundalini yoga from that. And I practiced that. I was fanatic, like, anywhere from 2 to 6 hours a day. It was just like, I'm going to really, break through and I was like total fanatic. So, and then I went into Kriya yoga, but eventually I ended up getting into Taoist alchemy, internal alchemy. And that really grounded me. I got a little like maybe too expanded from all the Kundalini stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had to ground. I was seeking for grounding. And I ended up writing like Mantak Chia's first 7 books. And then kind of like decided to go a little bit my own way just because, I was going deeper into that and he was going kind of wide and building a big empire. Mm-hmm. But I went very deep into the very high level practices and it's been so amazing for me, so rewarding. And I've had so many, experiences along the way. And I just want to say that I was always been a very highly sexual person. Okay. I didn't realize until I was about 21 and I had my Western astrology chart read. And the astrologer goes, "Oh, double Scorpio. Yeah, you probably got some pretty intense sexual feelings." And I go, "Yeah, what's Scorpio?" Like, that explains why I'm like thinking about sex, like 90% of the day, it's like, oh my God, So anyway, I just didn't know what to do with all that sexual drive. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I will say that that Kundalini awakening, I could feel my testicles pulsing day and night. It was pumping spontaneously my sexual energy up the spine. And then I was like, just like kind of like converting that out into some type of awareness and whatever. And I thought I was supposed to go up my crown and, take off to some other, heaven. And then that was actually depleting my energy. And it was like, just, kind of dispersing it out there. And then when I got to the Taoist thing, I realized, oh, I need to circulate it, take it inside the body. And then internal alchemy taught me, I started getting into all the Taoist sexual practices. Okay.
Mhm.
And that was stuff that I thought you had to go to a cave in the Himalayas for 25 years, to learn that stuff. Then I discovered, no, it's actually just some spiritual science. It's like how to, recirculate your sexual energy, your jing. If you're male, it's your semen. If you're female, it's your blood. And it's just like learn the method and do it. Okay.
So what motivated you in the first place? Were you a spiritual seeker, or you were more trying to work out what to do with your sexual energy, or a bit of both? Or had you heard about all these things? Because you were quite a pioneer, right? So it's not like you wrote the first book. So like, how did you even know this stuff existed? What drove you there?
Well, now I've always known that my sexuality was connected to all higher spiritual states. I just never doubted that, just because that was my religious experience. Orgasm, women, connection. That was the divine. I just knew that. I just didn't know how to do it, to make it happen. I read Lao Tzu in college. It was like nice poetry. It was like, how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of blew off the Taoist thing at that time because I didn't have any practical spiritual science to go with it. And then I had the tantric experience, that was off in Africa at the time. And I recount that in the Kundalini conference thing. I recommend people just get that in and listen to that whole hour. How I explain exactly how I did it. Anybody else could do that. Okay. But I do want to make the point, you don't have to have a dramatic Kundalini opening. I had like atomic bomb going off, like a cosmic orgasm. Okay. And when I had that cosmic orgasm, I go, wow, that's the goddess I want. Okay. It's like, forget physical sex. This is like 1,000 times more intense, better than physical sex, which I didn't think was possible, but it was. And so that started me on the path of energy body and having astral sex and all this other stuff. But that all happened basically as a byproduct of me just doing the alchemy and developing my energy body and learning about, how the meridians, the channels, and how to crystallize energy and, into a pearl and contain it and give it some body, basically. I mean, the pearl and the idea of an elixir in alchemy is just about embodiment. It's like, how do you embody the heart of the cosmos? Okay. And learning that yin yang theory. I mean, everybody knows they've heard yin and yang, right? But they don't understand that it's a sexual theory. Okay. That yin and yang are coupling in infinite numbers of pairs to create reality and create our form, to create the planet, the universe, everything. It's a sexual process of birthing itself in the present moment, the eternal present moment. But when you understand that it's a sexual process, then you can begin to understand like, oh, if I couple the sun and moon, I can add that into my orgasmic ability, okay? Because they're making love on their level, and I can add that into the male-female level. Okay, so this is what alchemy is about. It's like, how do you become multidimensional? And more specifically, how do you couple sexually these seemingly abstract energies? Okay, how do you couple them and ground them and then produce something new out of it, a new experience, a new level of awareness, just a new consciousness. Mm-hmm. So it's just been an incredible journey for me. Okay, and I'll just cut to the chase here. One time I had one of my students, she was 26. She's an international model, very beautiful. Okay. She invited me out to lunch. She was the girlfriend of one of my best friends. And she sits me down at a table. She buys me lunch. Okay. I said, okay, well, what's this about? She says, well, I want to have sex with you. Okay. I said, I appreciate that. It's very flattering, but you're already involved with my friend, and as beautiful as you are, you're actually not my type, and I just kind of like kept her at arm's length. Okay, it's like, yeah, that looks like a lot of problems. Okay, then a couple days later, I'm meditating, and this woman comes in energetically and essentially takes me sexually by force in the astral planes. Okay. And I'm going, wow, I didn't know that was possible. Okay. And so I'm having sex with her energetically. I know it's her. It's her vibration. I can just feel it. And this is going on for about 3 days and 3 nights. Okay. And after about that point, I'm going, you know what? Am I being like psychically raped?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
was going to ask that.
yeah.
Did you feel like
You
you
know?
were violated?
Yeah, it's like I like her. I love the sex, the actual sex. This is fine. This is great, but like I can't stop it. Like I'm out of control here. Like what's going on here? I call her up and I say, "Hey, do you know what's going on?" And she goes, "No, I don't have any idea. What are you talking about?" I said, "Okay, look, just tell your energy body, just to cool it, okay? Just like turn it down, okay? Like I understand, you like blah blah blah, but it's like too much." So it stops. Okay, she did it and it stopped. Okay, but
But
that was
you
like my
had no
initiation.
idea that it was
That was my
happening.
initiation into astral sex. Okay, and then it started happening regularly. Okay, now I discovered. I said, let me look at her chart. I discovered, I've got like Virgo Sun and Scorpio Moon, and she had Scorpio Sun and Virgo Moon. And I said, oh, there's like some energetic, astrological, constitutional things here that are, making this easy to happen. Okay.
Mhm.
And so it happened regularly to me, like every couple of years. I could never initiate it. Okay. Somebody would just jump my bones. Okay. There's always a woman. Okay. And it was always so much more intense than any physical sex. Okay. I just can't tell you.
Can
Okay.
you describe that a little for the people who are listening, who are wondering how that can be? Could you describe a little more of the experience? Just
Yeah.
for those who are like,
Okay.
listening and going, what?
Yeah. Okay. So listen, physical sex, you're trying to squeeze the life force through your genitals. Okay. I mean, mostly, of course, there's touching hands and breasts and other things. There's some other change, but the primary, focus there is to try and get that life force through a tiny little, penis and yoni. Okay. And that has its own intensity, has its own pleasure, it has everything. We know what that's all about. Okay. But when you redirect your chi, your prana, whatever you want to call it, okay, your life force, up into all your organs, into all your channels, and starts to fill your whole body, then when you have energetic sex with somebody, your whole being is making love, not just your genitals. Okay. So it's and that's where all your emotional and mental patterns are. And so they're all being made love to as well. And so it's just overwhelming almost. It's so intense. Okay. I mean, you can actually energetically, you can merge 100%. You can totally occupy the same space, 2 energy bodies. But physically, you can't do that. Okay. There's just a boundary there. It was like, you can put the penis inside the yoni, but you can't merge physically because, it's just got to be the energy that gets exchanged.
Yeah.
So, in short, the more you are able to shift into a whole energy body, the deeper that sharing can be with somebody else.
Now, how do you think it was with this first woman? Because she wasn't an energy master and she didn't intend or even know. So what's that? Is that like our energy bodies are busy making love with people without us knowing? Do you think just the desire to have sex with someone is going to start sending your energy body their way?
Great question. One that I've asked many, many times. Okay. So here's my answer. Okay. After finally getting some skill with this and seeing it happen many times, and then, being able to actually to go in and actually not necessarily initiate astral sex with somebody, but feel their energy body and their insides at a distance. Okay. And know like, okay, what's going on in them. Okay. Which is not the same thing as having actual sex with them, but it's very intimate still. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, here's what I concluded. Okay. What we call the energy body is just the tantric Taoist name for the Western soul. Okay. So you got a personality there's a soul, and it has various energetic layers to it, and it gives birth to the slowest vibrating body, which is the physical body. Now, the physical body is actually part of the energy body. We should understand this. There's no hard split between physical reality and all these other energetic levels of ourselves. Okay. It's just a continuum. Okay. And then beyond the personal energy body, you start getting into, cosmic levels of the, the energy body of the earth, the energy body of solar system, the energy body of the star system, the zodiac, and then, the energy body of the cosmos. So we're all part of all of that, but mostly it's happening, vibrating too fast, and our slow personality doesn't know what's going on. We're just like focused here in the physical plane. All those other levels of energy are pulsing into us every moment. And the thing to understand is that these energy bodies are inside of us. They're not out there above our head. You got the crown chakra. That's physical space up there. The sun, moon, the stars, that's all physical. Okay. So that's a big illusion that you have to go out of your head to get to the high place. You have to go inside. Okay. And that's where your layers of your energy body are. You have to crack them open energetically, just raise, get them to start circulating. But here's what I concluded about, to answer your question, that physically we have boundaries and we have to respect boundaries. There's this whole protocol about, am I safe with you and my body and blah, 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 blah. Okay. The souls do not give a damn about that. There is no boundary there. They're in the energy planes. It's like a dream plane. And they just go, oh, wow, we can do anything here. And everything's permissible. It's just like, what's attracted to what? Okay. And so this is what happens, is that this woman started a resonance with me, and her soul goes, you need what he's got. I'm sorry. You were right, but you can't have it physically. So I'm going to go get it for you on the soul level. So her soul jumps my soul, and my soul goes, yeah, this is fine. Yeah. Scorpio sun. She's a Taoist. She's training. Yes, it's okay. And lets her in. And so I realized I let her in. It's like, there's no blame here. I can't accuse her of raping me. And in fact, I allowed it. Okay. Yeah. And on some level, I just wasn't conscious of it though. Later on, I started getting more conscious about this, and,
so we don't get astrally raped. I've had that experience too. And feeling that you can choose to let energy in, even if you can't quite identify who it is or what's going on, you can feel when it feels good. Your soul knows, your being knows it's the color of good. You can let it in. Just in case people are listening and worried that they're going to get energetically violated. And
well, let me say this.
For the personality that is so limited, to have comprehension of a more limitless plane while feeling safe, because in the more limited realm, those boundaries are needed. Yes. So I just want to.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me just say this. What's dangerous, okay, is internet porn, okay? Because what's happening is you're going there and you're looking at somebody, you don't realize that this place is swarming with astral entities that are feeding off of your sexual energy, okay? This is not like having astral sex with them. They're just eating you. They're just going, oh, you're getting aroused and you're watching this stuff. And it's a very, very powerful entity. I call it the internet sex beast.
Yeah.
Okay? And, I got to a pretty high level through my alchemy, and I actually directly encountered this internet sex beast once just by accident. And it took me 6 weeks to recover from it. It was so draining. It was so horrible. I had such terrible sick energy in me. I was like, oh my God, how am I ever going to get this out of me? It was like, oh, this is so horrible. And people don't realize.
I know, I've heard that said before. I had a friend who turned Tantra, but he used to, in his earlier life, he ran an S&M club or a dark club somewhere. And he said at some point he would walk through these darkened rooms and look and just see entities everywhere. And at that point he realized there was so much sucking of energy, and people were voluntarily giving their energy away. And that's when he realized he had to pull himself out of it. And I met him 20 years later in a world of Tantra, trying to work out how to be conscious with sexual energy. So I've heard it said before, and clearly we can see that people are giving up energy, feeding their energy to this beast, as you put it.
Yeah. Well, it was so horrible. I just can't tell you. It's really one of the worst experiences of my life. I mean, I've been through dark side attacks and other stuff. A lot of people live in this kind of new age land, and they don't realize that, there are heavy polarities, and there's kind of a war in heaven going on between a lot of these forces. And we're actually the physical, players of that. We recreated as above, so below.
Yeah.
Playing it out here. Okay. So you need to navigate this and have very clear, virtuous, loving intention is so important. Okay.
Right. So people can be safe with loving invention and loving intention. And then you also said virtuous. I just want to pull out that word because it's something I've really valued from Taoism, how Tao Te Ching is about the virtues and how cultivating virtues actually gives us protection. Minka's always teaching us that, right? Like cultivating kindness, cultivating peace, and cultivating these attracts positive experiences, right?
Totally. Now, I personally don't actually the translation of the Chinese word into virtue, it carries a little bit of Western sense of moralism. Like,
morality. Yeah.
I don't like the word virtue. It's not the exact translation. I would prefer integrity or inner power, or something like that.
Nice.
Because virtue has those moralistic tones, and the Taoists, they're not moral. They're basically amoralistic. They're saying whatever creates harmony and balance, go for it. And that could be in any situation. Could be this called situational ethics. There's no fixed rules. Okay. I mean, you don't want to be killing people and you don't want to be stealing whatever thing, but it really, has to do with unfolding of your highest, your mandate from heaven, your inner virtue, your inner power. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that will define your unique destiny. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the whole, navigating the sexual morass. Okay. The same principle applies in ordinary physical sexual relationships, because what? Anytime you have physical sex, there's the sugar coating, right? There's the pleasure, there's the orgasm, whatever. Hopefully you're having that, there's the sweetness, all that. But that's like the 10% coating. What's really happening is an exchange of deeper unconscious energies. Okay. You could call it, if you want to be modern scientific about it, you're exchanging DNA information or RNA information. You're uploading to the other person, or downloading, depending on however you want to look at it, like who you are. And that's really the attraction of sex. It's not the pleasure. That's just that's just the sweet coating. It's really like,
in there.
I want to get everything about you. Okay. And so unfortunately, there's a lot of garbage in that information. Okay. There's a lot of trauma, there's ancestral patterns, karmic patterns. I mean, humans we're complex. We have many beautiful, spiritual qualities, and we've got all this garbage. And it's our job to come here and kind of clean up that garbage, and then, go home and say, hey, look, I cleaned it up. Look, how do I, oh, good. You brought something back valuable, cleaned. Okay. You're not just dying and your garbage does not go back to heaven. Okay. It does not get recycled because it's not purified enough, and it just stays here waiting for another soul to come in and pick up and clean it up for you. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important you do your work, so you don't leave a lot of psychic trash behind. But when you have sex, you are sharing that deep stuff. So this is why I tell my students, promiscuity is a two-edged sword. Okay. Sometimes you want to taste different flowers and smell the different essences, and you learn from that, but you got to be prepared for the fact you're taking on a lot of extra spiritual work to clean up that psychic garbage that you're taking on from your partner. Mm-hmm. That's why
when it's just astral, because I heard a teaching once that when it's physical, it's stronger. Like as soon as there's physical penetration, there's more exchange of the garbage, as you put it. Like the ancestral chi is very heavy, and so more of it is carried in the secretions and the physical sexuality. And I assume, the energy body is lighter. So do you think there's a difference there?
I think that's a great question, Shashi. And there are probably only a few people on the planet as smart as you could ask that question. Okay. So that's why I love talking to you. Okay. It's like we can go there and just really dive into these things. It's fantastic. So I think you're right. I think that the physical sex brings out the stuff that's stored in the deep cellular tissue level. Okay. That's really unconscious, and that's really hard to get out. Okay. And that when you're doing your whole energy body, it's that stuff is there, but it's kind of blended with higher spiritual vibrations and all kinds of other energies. And so it's I agree with you.
So
Okay.
we can actually be energetically promiscuous more safely than physically promiscuous. I think it's actually something that, like, I've discovered in the Tantra world, that sometimes you just hug someone and you kind of have an energy orgasm. And it's so great because something shifts, something moves, something heals, but you didn't have to go so close together. You didn't have to merge right in that deep karmic level, but something might just kind of resolve and it feels nice. And you had a nice energy orgasm, and, you know, something I think is really healthy in the tantric world that I think would be great if the rest of the world had more of that.
That is exactly my experience. Okay. It's like, it's much cleaner. It's like, hey, let's just exchange our energy. And then, like, we don't necessarily have to worry about our worldly destiny together and all the struggles that go along with that. Just your career, your geographical location, your family,
no
everything, all that stuff. You don't worry about it. It's just like, let's just get to the essence here. Let's just exchange. Let's love each other. And then thank you so much. Okay. And then you know, and maybe that goes on for a while, and maybe it doesn't, or whatever. You know, it's just like it has its own life. Okay. But on the other hand, I'll tell you, it's almost irresistible when you're starting to have an energetic sexual connection with somebody. Most people, and I've counseled a lot of people about this. Okay. Almost all unrequited love, okay, is like when somebody's obsessed with somebody else, and the other person is kind of like looking at them like who are you? Okay. Yeah. That is, one person is feeling the soul connection to the other, and the other one's like in their personality, and they're going like, you're a nice guy, but we're, what, I don't care, I'm not interested in a relationship. But you're open on the soul connection to them. So that's why you're so obsessed with it. You're like, wait a minute, you can't see all this stuff is happening on the soul level? No, they can't. Okay. And what happens is that people want to ground that. They want to have the physical sex. They want to have the love, the romantic piece of it to ground it, essentially, is what's going on. But I just tell people, I said, forget it. Okay. If someone's not on the same frequency as you, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. And you're just going to frustrate yourself and just like obsess and project all this energy and all this other stuff, and it's like becomes like a nightmare. Okay. That's what unrequited love is. It's a kind of a romantic nightmare. Okay.
Yeah.
But like after I had a partner of who I met at a Taoist retreat. Okay, this is kind of along the lines of what we're talking about. Her name is Joyce Gayhart. Okay, and I've got a whole section on my website about her. Okay, but she was this woman 10 years older than me, blonde, not my type. I like dark haired. Okay, but I walked up to her and I was like, oh, she had all this interesting. She Feldenkrais work. She was doing all this interesting stuff, and I just was casually talking to her, and I put my hand on her spine, and I heard the music of the spheres. I'm going, whoa, wow, I got some spiritual connection with this lady. Okay. And it didn't match. Nothing was there on the physical, like, my ordinary personality, expectations, or anything like that. But I said to her, I said, look, if you're ever down, she's in Massachusetts, I was near. I said, if you're ever down, you're welcome to stay at my place. You need a place in the city. A couple of months later, she says, hey, I'm coming in the city, blah, 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 blah. She said, okay, great. Well, we ended up sitting opposite each other and having the most incredible, intense, energetic orgasm I've ever had. Okay, because we were like 3 or 4 feet apart, but we were having what I call a double orgasm, a yin and a yang orgasm at the same time. The yang orgasm, we were expanding. I could see galaxies. I was going out past the stars. It was like, we were just like becoming the whole cosmos. And the yin orgasm was, we were just like into each other. Okay. Like deep, just into each other. I was going, wow, this is impossible. Like, how could this happen? And we're not even touching. Okay?
And the context is, I was just going to say, you're fully clothed and you weren't in a kind of romantic thing.
We were getting ready to engage sexually. We were
opening up.
We were decided there was some attraction here, and actually we were naked. Okay. But we had no physical sexual contact. Okay. And that's when I realized that a lot of people have the idea, oh, I've got to do all these like Taoist or tantric practices, and have this special, find a special tantric partner and have sex with them, and then we'll have the spiritual, orgasm. And I realized, wow, it's just the opposite for me. It's like I had the soul spiritual orgasm first, and then afterwards, like we had like a half hour of that. We were just like, couldn't talk. We were just stunned. This just descended on us. And then, say, by the way, were we gonna have sex? Oh yeah, let's ground. Okay. An afterthought. Okay. It was an anticlimax. Okay. What? And after that experience, I said, I'm going to marry this woman. Okay. I mean, like, if I have this kind of experience with somebody, that's it. 10 years older, blonde, I don't care. Wrong body type, I don't care. It's like, I want more spiritual orgasm like that. Okay. And it turned out that we just like could lie there for hours and just exchange energy. It was just like when we got married, we had a whole wedding on the edge of the Grand Canyon, had all my friends come from around the world, and that night when we went to our honeymoon cabin on the edge of the Grand Canyon, our bedroom suite, we did not make love. We just sat there and exchanged energy. It was so beautiful that we did that every night for 6 months. So after we got married, we didn't have sex for 6 months. The energy sex was so sweet. And we just don't need it.
But did you ever feel a desire to like integrate it so that you could ground, have that, or was it always just so amazing?
No, we would hold each other with clothes on or clothes off, hands on the breast, hands on the buttocks, whatever. You kind of can channel it a little bit, but it was just, it's not, you don't get, like in physical sex, you go up and you come down, right? You have the orgasm and you go down. This is just like a long takeoff, just like sublime, no motor, just cruising, just wings like an eagle or something, and just together.
I ask because sometimes when I have that and I have this amazing energy orgasm, at some point I have a longing to like physicalize it. And it's not like it's just like somehow my body then wants to join in. And then the sex is always amazing because it's already flying. It's not like you use the sex to go high as you're high, and then you can use the sex to kind of bring it into the physical realm as well.
I totally agree with you. I understand that, because what I found over the course of our 25-year relationship is that we had to have physical sex periodically, even though our preference was for energetic sex. You have to get in touch with your actual physical body. It's one of your subtle bodies, really. Okay, yeah. It's your vibrating one. You have to connect it. Okay, yeah. So yes, we had to have physical sex periodically. Okay, but I mean, we also had amazing physical sex. Very early in our relationship, we decided to push this and see, well, how long can we do this thing? Take it up, hit a plateau, kind of gather your energy, and then go up another one. We went for 12 hours. Okay. I mean, wow, we were like both impressed, like, wow, that went all day long. Okay. We just okay, let's rest, let's meditate for a while, regroup our energy. Okay. Then some more like friction sex, and then, go up to another plateau. And then it was like, wow. Okay.
Do you make it sound as if it just happened to you? So Michael, can you teach other people how to do that? Like, I'm sure people are listening and thinking, oh, I want some of that. But it also sounds like it just happened. And it just happened that this woman came along. And so then maybe people are listening thinking, is there anything we can do? Or is it just grace? Do we just have to pray for it? But yet you were Sika and you were doing, and so was she. And so somehow there was some intention that you had. There was some part of you showing up and doing practices. And I hear there's a part that's just like grace happening. So how do we navigate that? It's a bit frustrating if we're told we just have to wait for it to happen.
Well, I guess I would just say that if you're a dark-haired woman, just send me your phone number and we'll talk. Just kidding. Okay. Just joking. So of course, that's what I've been teaching people, okay, is like how to do this. Okay. It's energy science. Okay. I call it loving energy science. And I use that term very broadly, inclusively. The tantrics, energy healers, the Taoists, alchemists, astrologers, they're all aspects of energy science, okay? And everybody's got their own particular, ways of manipulating, shaping that energy, okay, and activating it or understanding it. But my specialty is really like how do you get your energy body and your whole, all your 12 organ spirits and your soul body and the higher bodies integrated so that you can have that kind of experience, and feel embodied in it, feel grounded in it. Okay. What happens is a lot of people want to have a spiritual orgasm, but their idea is very escapist. I mean, this is just mostly a result of Hindu and Buddhist conditioning. Okay. It's like, you're supposed to get out of here. This is like the realm of suffering, and there's a heaven, or the Christians also. Yeah. And you got to go somewhere else to get the bliss.
Yeah.
And the Taoist thing and the Tantric thing is, no, let the bliss come in. Okay. Yeah. Be the bliss here in this body. Okay. But that's great. But you also want to get it smoothly pulsing through all your energy bodies. And then you can start to make love with the cosmos or with somebody else in this cosmos. So that's really what I train people in. That's what I do. Okay. It's like
good. So I'm just glad to hear that people can train, and I like what you said, that like you're kind of preparing, you can do groundwork and connect, and then be able to receive a more profound experience when it comes, because that's the important thing, right? Like everybody wants the mind-blowing experience, but if your system isn't ready for it, it's actually just going to like overwhelm you. So we need to do the preparation.
The first level of training is actually to connect your everyday sexual desire and energy to the Earth's energy body and get that grounded. So Earth's energy body is like incredibly sexual and pulsating and creating like 50 billion species. I mean, Mother Earth is like,
she's very sexy.
The goddess of goddesses.
Oh God, she's very sexy.
It's like nobody else is like creating this many life forms. You just look around the stars and the planets, they're going, no, this is it, man. Like, this is the richest, most fertile, sexiest planet anywhere, ever. Okay. So if you can connect into her heart, into her heart womb at the center of the planet, and get that pulsation coming up into your body and connecting to your sexual energy, wow.
I always say nature Shakti is the Viagra. That's all you need. Just go and like breathe and do qigong with the earth and make love to the earth, and then you'll always be fired up. I think the biggest loss is living in a lot of concrete and living in a big city and being cut off from that. It's a disaster. It's a real disaster.
Well, listen, if they get that Kundalini conference package, I actually, at the end of my session, spend 15 minutes teaching people deep earth pulsing into the heart of Gaia, and into her heart womb at the center of the planet. So that method is right there for anybody who gets that package. And that's one of my favorite practices. It's so simple. You're just like pulsing your energy body in, and it clears your ancestral channels, mother and father channels, left and right side of the body. Most people don't realize that almost all their stuff is just parked and these channels there and waiting to be activated by somebody who comes along. Well, if you clear that stuff out, then you don't need to go through all those side alleys and all those detours and all that slow motion suffering. You're just like, alchemy is like it's the fast path. It's like, hey, I want to clear this stuff up now. So, yeah.
I wonder if you feel to share one thing that really touched me. Before I met you, we have a friend in common, Andrew Fretwell, and I was working a lot with him. And he told me a story about you and your wife, Joyce, who you just mentioned, when she passed. And I don't know if you feel like sharing that, but it really touched me. And it really supported me in many ways and things that I was going through. So I wonder if you'd like to share a little bit about that.
Well, sure. I mean, anybody could go to my website, the Healing Tao, that's TAO, USA.com. And there's on the menu of products, there's Joyce, Gayhart, and she's got her own page. And all the letters I wrote at the time, basically to explain to my friends, family, students, like what happened, because it was like so amazing to me. You can go read those things. But the short story is that she healed herself of breast cancer, which is caused by a car accident where they gave her 300 doses of radiation, but it took like 14 or 15 years for it to mature. And so it came in under the radar kind of, and then she cured that, but then it jumped to her brain and she died of brain tumors. Okay. Oh. So even 2 days before she passed, the heavens opened up. I heard the music of the spheres. It's like incredible. I go, okay, she's getting ready to go. And I said, the portal's opening. Okay. So I was ready for her to die. She passed. Okay. And I didn't have her in hospice. I didn't want all those other people's energy there. I kept her in, in our house, in our bedroom, and like I do Chinese medicine, and I read her pulses just to make sure, like 12 pulses on the wrist. Those are all the organ spirits, and there was no pulse. Okay, great. That's all of her organ spirits have departed. That's the personality. And then I took my fingers and I pushed it deep into her navel. Okay, and I go, wow, wait a minute, there's a pulse there. I couldn't believe it. I said, whoa. I said, that means her soul is still present. Okay, the personality is gone, but their soul is still in the body. Now, I had one of my students is an MD. He was coming over to pay his respects to Joyce, and I said, Doc, just put your fingers in there and just tell me if I'm hallucinating or not. But like, what do you feel? Put your fingers into her navel center. He puts his fingers in and he goes, well, there's a pulse. Okay. So
wow.
That night, I get, you have to understand, it's like when you're that energetically connected with somebody, it doesn't really matter if the physical body is there or not. You're still energetically connected to them. So she's still hanging around. Her soul is still in the body and it's right there. And so it hasn't like gone off to wherever we go after we die. That depends on who you are, right? But so I get instructions from her, guidance, and like, okay, we're going to do a heart transplant thing. And I park it so that my crown is pointing right at her crown. I had to like put up a bunch of pillows and cushion and stuff and everything. And her head was right to my head. And then we did this kind of like meditation between us, okay, our heart to heart, okay, for 3 hours. Okay, we just did this deep exchange, this soul exchange, okay. And then like I just like went unconscious and I fell asleep. I woke up in the morning and I was like, did I dream all that? What happened? And then I looked and I go, no, I'm still lying in that position. And there's her head. I said, wait a minute. No, that really happened. And then I noticed that I did not feel any grief at her passing. I said, oh, I have her heart inside of me. That was like part of the ceremony. It's like, there's no separation. Why should I be grieving? I was like, her heart essence came into me. Okay. And so I created an altar inside of me. The Chinese do this for the dead. They have an altar, like, where you can make prayers or flowers or offerings and stuff to the ancestors. So I just created an ancestral altar, inside my heart, and she was there. And so there's no separation. And then I had to explain to all my family and friends, like, folks, I'm not grieving. I'm over. I'm done. It's like, yeah. It's like 3 days after she died, I finished, I complete. And like, everybody's going, what are you talking about? How can that be, But that's why I wrote the letters and everything on my website to try and explain, like, what's going on. And so then it gets even more interesting though. Okay. This is the most incredible spiritual teaching in my entire life. Of course, I didn't tell you one part. When the heavens opened up and I heard the music of the spheres, I knew she was going to die. This woman floated in, dark brown hair, right? Just like my type. Okay. And kind of European looking. And I couldn't quite figure. I said, who are you? And she just stared at me for 2 minutes. Okay. And then she disappeared. Well, I thought, oh, maybe like Joyce is like showing me like my next partner already. She's going out and like, here's my new partner coming in. Well, at my retreats that summer, this woman shows up. I'm going, wow, that was fast. Okay. And I think, here's my new partner, right? Because I like wanted to ground and like, I wanted to move on. And like, I had been having these visions from a child saying, be my daddy, and I'm saying, okay, I'll find this woman who's going to be, the mother. Well, to make a long story short, what I discovered is through a series of similar experiences, it's very similar to this one, very intense synchronicities and these were not my partners. These were people from Joyce's soul group. These are from her oversoul. They were all like using her portal in me for healing, basically. Okay. And they're coming to me for healing. And so it was like I had this nighttime spiritual job healing all these women who were coming to me. And I kept thinking, oh, you're the next partner. Are you my next partner? None of them were my partner. They were all just out of her group, her soul group. And what I really got from this whole experience was that, when we leave here, we merge, our soul goes back into an oversoul group. And just like we have 12 organ spirits, there's 12 oversouls. And this is the kind of half of them goddesses and half of them gods. This is the cosmic male, female. These are the 12 gods of Mount Olympus, the 12 signs of the zodiac. It's like embedded in time, 12 hours. This is the archetype of 12. Okay. But these are all coming down through her oversoul, which we already knew. We had already determined we had different oversouls, and that we were kind of joining together here on Earth and creating some higher harmonies at that level as well. But this is an incredible teaching for me to get in touch with that oversoul energy and see how it worked, and how it's basically why these souls can just come in on you and say, like, they're trying to get evolved. They're trying to like advance. Okay. And so,
yeah, sometimes I really felt in the Tantra world that we're all waking each other up and healing each other. And if we let energy flow without hindering it through our head of like, it's not appropriate or it's not the right person for me, like all of that, if we just let energy flow, then we heal each other. We vibrate while we're hugging, or we do a meditation together and we're like, and then we can namaste and move on. There's no need to have a relationship but if we allow that, then miracles happen. We heal each other. We reawaken each other. We're all serving each other somehow. But it's very taboo and strange to the mind and to culture to just be kind of energetically orgasmic. I remember a woman on one of our symposiums saying, she just met up with, I think, an ex, someone she hadn't seen for years. And when they met, they both went into energy orgasm. And her husband wanted to divorce her because of it. He's like, and, she's fully dressed. She didn't choose it. It was involuntary. She just allowed it. And, we kind of feel the inherent rightness of it when it comes, because it feels like it's healing. It feels like it's love returning. It feels like it's resolving. We know that it's good. We know that it's doing us good, and yet culturally it's very taboo, and we don't have any understanding of it. And we're used to intentional sexual things. So when it's unintentional and it just happens, I don't think we have enough of a conversation about that to really make it okay. And yet it's something that I see, that I find very beautiful in the Tantra world. I think it's a very part of our evolution to let ourselves do that.
Well, I totally agree with you 100%. And just note, the highest principle of the Tao is called Wu Wei. Wu Wei means spontaneous play. I mean, you don't force things to happen. You don't over control them. You just let it come through, and then you kind of shape it and play with it as it comes through. It's exactly what you're describing. That's why I say the Tantrics and the Taoists, they're on the same path. They're just using slightly different cultural modalities, okay, and some different methods, okay, but it's the same path, okay. And my goal, in fact, is to support the integration of worldwide Tantra and Taoist, instructors and sharing of their spiritual technologies. I plan to create a foundation called Gaia, Global Alchemy Institute and Allies, and which is going to help. I have a very wealthy friend who's going to be, he says he'll be funding it. Just to support instructors and making it, a better livelihood for them, so that they can, I mean, this is what the planet needs, okay, and it's undervalued and underpaid, okay. So I'm out to change that.
Yay! Me too. I think it's so important, and I see how all these topics so many people are interested in. It's just not available. It's taboo. It's. I think it's tremendously helpful for people. And I'm so grateful for you for sharing your stories here today. To wrap up, I'm thinking if people are listening to this, they're going to be blown away like I was when I first heard about you. Is there one practice, you mentioned the deep earth pulsing, is there any other one practice that you would recommend people to do who are feeling a call to like allow this kind of energetic experience, or maybe people who are stuck in the physical sexual experience and want more? Is there one? I know there's so many practices, but one bit of guidance.
Yes, there is one. No question. It's the number one recommendation I have, because I know from teaching all these formulas of alchemy, for decades, okay, and hacking into them, there's one practice that you find at every formula at every level, okay? And yes, it gets more and more cosmic, but it's the same practice, and it's called the inner smile. Okay? And wrote a whole ebook on this, 120 pages and 40 illustrations, which if people go to my website, they can download for free. They just sign up for the newsletter. They'll get that ebook sent to them free.
Great.
That's on the healingdaousa.com site. But this is a lot of people think that they're failures at meditation because the Buddhists have told them, oh, you have to stop your mind, you have to stop everything. And that's total BS, okay? And it just sets up people for failure because they can't stop their mind, because chi is flowing through us all the time, and there's patterns and emotions, feelings, thoughts, sensations are always there, okay? So the inner smile is really just completely can be customized however you want to do it. But you really start by going through the body, the organs, the spine, various energy channels, and just unconditionally loving them. It's a form of self-love, of practical self-love. I mean, everybody goes, well, how do I love myself? Like, what do I do? Do I go see my therapist? I look for someone who's going to mirror it back to me? No, you just smile inside and just say, I unconditionally accept who I am at this moment. You don't try and heal anything. You don't try and change anything. Just accept what is there. And then it will spontaneously start to change. And then you go with that. That's the Wu Wei, the spontaneous play thing. So the inner smile is the premier method for doing that, okay? Coupled with movement Qigong, like deep earth pulsing. There's so many other forms that are great. The primordial Tai Chi is one of my favorites, okay? That does alchemy, inside the form. But the inner smile will empower all of them and empower you. If you can't love yourself, if you can't accept yourself, your own chi, how are you ever going to be able to capture and hold the chi from other people, lovers, or the universe? You'll be a sieve. It'll just come in and it'll go out of you. You'll be frustrated. You'll be chasing after it, and you'll be getting it. And oh, here, I got it. And it's gone again, because you don't have the container. You don't have the love container. Self-love is the container for gathering all of that and holding it, and it fuses together. It's so beautiful. It's so simple. Everybody knows how to smile. You just have to take the outer smile and turn it inwards. It's so easy. But,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love your description as well of like how you can't gather energy until you love yourself. That's really beautiful. Wow. We've like gone over our time that we intended, and I could still talk for hours more. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I hope that we can create some more things together online, because I so enjoy. I feel so filled up and so energized and excited, and I'm so grateful for not only what you shared now, but I'm grateful that you gave your life to this, because it really shows you've given a lot of time and space for these practices and this journey. And thank you so much for sharing it with everyone here.
Thank you, Shashi. You are doing fantastic work in the world. I bless you. I bless all your students. I bless the whole community, Tao Tantric community, and I look forward to all of our future sharings and growing this together.
Thank you.
I love you. I love you, appreciate you, and I'm sure that our energy bodies are doing a big wild.
They're having a dance up there.